make it and they tell me that they want to see the recording. So I have started the recording.
Good.
Welcome, everybody. It's really great to see some new faces and some familiar ones. It's really, really great. Thanks for showing up. So this is I really don't know what to expect for this talk. I mean, we haven't done a lot of sort of pre-organizing, so I'm going to be with you, just sort of experiencing it for the first time as we go through it. Just a couple of things about the mute button. Mute if you're not speaking. I spoke with both Vicky and Sophie prior to the talk, and we decided that we would let them do their presentation parts, and they're going to show some videos and talk about their practices and things like that. And then after that, we'll open it up for conversation. So we'll go through each of their little sections, semi-structured, and then we'll open it up for conversation at the end. So if you want to take notes, that's what I'm going to do, so you don't forget things that you want to say. And at some point, we will ask you why you walk. So maybe you want to be thinking about that as we listen. So without any further delay, I'm just going to hand it over to Vicky and Sophie. Do you guys can kind of take it from here.
Vicky, do you begin? Oh.
We can hear you,
Okay.
Sophie. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. I will start. I'm having some notes here because it's easy for me to be lost. I'm Vicky Vergou. I'm an artist who live. I live in both countries, the UK and Greece. I've been living in the UK for the last 20 years, but now I'm in both countries at the moment, and I don't know the future. So I'm a visual artist. I'm reading what is on my website. I'm a visual artist inspired by the essence of rural surroundings and the interconnectedness of nature. I create works walking in different landscapes, imagining the unseen, documenting experiences through the lens, voice recordings, mobile technology, or with my pencils. So I did an MA in Oxford, Brookes, in 2004, and that was a turning point in my career. And since then, I started to develop work that is based on personal experience. In this process, I started to get to make collaborations with people from international collaborations, mainly from Europe, other European artists. And slowly I moved to involving a wider audience. So I made my work a bit participatory. I had a major project with funded from the Arts Council England in 2011 or 12. Can't remember, and that opened up this kind of public art. My art became more like public art, as before was much more personal or gallery-based work. And what else I want to say for today? Yeah, I've been doing for many years. I'm working actually with Annie, who is here today. We had the AV collaborations, and we had been working in nature. On the theme of water. So there were a number of projects, and this is an ongoing work that we visit areas with where the river meets the sea, and we develop works. We make mini residences, and the work varies. Anne has a background performing arts and textile artists, so we combine our works in different ways and have a nice time in new places. I met Oika through an introduction in last year in England. I was in England during the lockdown in England, and when I joined this introduction, I felt this is a place for me. And then a friend of ours who is not here to get today, she joined, and then I joined. And I felt like home, to be honest. I think it's something I really want to continue. It's great to be part of people as well. That's my brief. And Sophie?
Yes, so I'm based in Montreal, and I have notes also. My artwork integrate relational and social action, which I mix it with other medium like photography, video, sound editing. And my action are performative, and most of them are in it's walking. So I'm invest in social, educational, and health circles to explore collaboration between artists and citizens or professional. I won't describe every project, but mainly I will show you some picture later about two of my project. One of them is between 2015 and 2015, 2015 and 17. I did work with homeless people living temporarily in a refuge, and I offered them some time to walk with me, to photograph and go see public work art. Also, I wonder about the impact and ethic of my practice with others. So since 2016, I research in a doctoral program called Studies and Practice of Art in University of Quebec in Montreal. And related to my research, I walk along the littoral in Gaspésie in Quebec between September and October 2019. Also, in July 2019, I attend the Walking Practices, Walking Art, and Walking Bodies conference in Prespas, Greece. That was a pure chance because nobody told me about it. I discovered the event on web, and this gave me to join the group over there and Geert. I met some other walking artists, so it confirmed this practice for me. Hi, Henke.
Hi.
So, and I found a community over there because the artists have similar question about art, mixing art and walking. Do you have another part, Vicky, about why do you walk?
For some reason, I'm not on the screen at the moment. I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
It might be because
I mean now.
Okay, now you're back. Now you're back.
It became not. I didn't turn my camera off. That just happened.
Okay, good.
So yeah, I mean, I haven't participated in walking projects like you, Sophie, but this is a story. I have a story with a suitcase. Okay, so when I was young, I lived with a suitcase under my bed. I have had days that instead of going to school, I was spending hours walking, dreaming, drifting, writing letters of love and despair, drawing imaginative flowers and muddy rivers. So this is the story of the start of my walking. And I'll read you what happened recently. So during COVID, I was in a personal journey of searching for home. I had been moving between countries for a while, learning to live out of the suitcase, carrying only essential belongings. I was facing the unfamiliar, unknown people, new places, temporary homes. Home was quickly replaced by place, not so important anymore. England, Greece, Yorkshire, Oxfordshire, Athens, Crete. Eventually, nature became my mentor. There is not even a specific place. It is just that space, wherever we geographically are. It is where there is a good Wi-Fi and some sort of human life. And this can feel just as safe as home. So I was always a walker. I was always walking in the mountains. since I was young. But during the lockdowns, walking became my mental health. I was walking every day, and I recorded the process with different kind of media. But I always was doing something with my mobile and my sketchbook. So the absence of people and of urban sounds created new relationships with other alive beings, such as plants, trees, birds, insects, and even the water and the soil. I started using just my mobile device and a sketchbook, which I've just said it, and being as portable and light as possible. So what I also noticed is that during lockdown, a lot of people that they never used to walk, they were walking in nature as the only source of getting out of the house. And this triggered an interest to me to want to engage people in my experience. So if my walking is good for my mental health and I meditate and it changes my life eventually, I wanted other people to know about it. So now I'm in the process that I want to use walking as a vehicle for others to come to me and see what I see. That is what walking is for me. Sophie?
Yes. Can I? Okay, I'd like to share my screen. Well, where? Okay, see. Do you see something?
Yes.
Yes, and I just want to interrupt one thing. If for the people that are viewing, if you double click on a screen on a window, it will make it the biggest window. So for me, I had to just click on her video screen in order to make it the biggest window, and that applies to all conversations. So if you want to, if you want to make the person speaking the biggest window, you just double click on that window, and it will enlarge it. So enlarge the video screen that Sophie has just provided.
Okay, where do I have to click? It is okay, Rich, like this?
Yeah, I can see it full. I can see it nice and large. If anyone else can't see it, you might want to include the Vimeo link, the link to the Vimeo video, in the chat box. Then people can watch it on their, on their own.
Okay.
So for people that are watching, click on the little chat icon down in the bottom, and that'll open up the chat, and then you'll be able to get to the link that Sophie's about to give us.
Okay. It's coming. Okay. Okay, you should receive it.
Yeah, so anybody who doesn't see it, click on that and you can watch it on your own. How long is the video, Sophie?
4 minutes.
Okay, so if you can't see it, watch it on your own, and we'll see you in about 4 minutes, or whenever you start the video, from whenever you start the video.
So do I share my screen? Yes, okay.
You can share your screen, but we can also, let's see if it works.
So if I share my screen, can I see people in the same time?
You won't be able to see us, but we'll be able to see the video.
Okay. Okay, so let's go.
Okay, you're gonna push play now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So why do I walk? So I walk to feel relation of myself with the world, to the relation with others, and I also walk to mark lines between places and events. The image here is about the two projects I told just before. So walking is a process of being with people and with all elements. We walked together and it became a common experience. Through this experience, I learned in 2017 about the Montreal homelessness reality. So homeless people come and go in the city from one resource to another. During our walk, and when they came back to the refuge, they did more than photograph, because we talk and deconstruct a piece of their invisibility. Nothing had really changed, I mean, for them, but they did something really new. So do I. I am an artist seeker. I have the chance to live as an artist. It gives me the opportunity to experiment different situations. Some wonderful, some are strange, but always poetic. I put myself in a situation which make me experiment relation differently, in a sense of non-conventional issues. I try to explore that. I invite others to integrate the creative process and the results of the initial proposal. This is what we call co-creation approach, but this is not the main point. Walking is an occasion to touch a symbiotic vision, which means the world is in a non-stop creation. We create all together all the time. The image of walking in itself is an artifact because humanity walks for so many years, century, and era. I'm interested in the body perception because my intuition for creation begins in my body. Also, I feel walking as a geopoetic approach, meaning then we crossing the place to be sensitive about the place we go through, to be sensitive of what emerged from it. Also, I integrate stories into my itinerary, my story and the one from others. Art is a way to face many levels of reality: geographic, politic, sociologic, spiritual, biological, and poetical, and much more other ways. My direction comes from the field, the space. I try to. I have my point of view in my artwork, but in my artwork I have a socio-poetic observer position. I prefer to listen. When I went along the Gaspésian littoral, I talked to people without any plan, just to experiment what unpredictability can give me. I have another image to share and a little story. Do you still have do you have another story, Vicky?
I only have my presentation, so probably you do first, because it's like a continuation of what you already show us, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. So I'm looking for the other picture. Okay. I share a picture here. You can also close your eyes if you want. It's about a piece of my walking in Gaspé. So I am in the village named Barachois. I'm hungry. I have been walking since this morning. I have covered 10 kilometers with my backpack and my cart. The restaurant where I wanted to rest and eat is closed. It's the only one in the village. Closed for the winter. The tourist season is over. I still have the general store, a real general store, old-fashioned. Moreover, part of the place is transformed into a museum. I find something to satisfy my stomach. A ham and cheese sandwich in a vacuum pack. Without aesthetic. But I'm so hungry, it's good. The pleasure of satisfying needs when I walk so long is increased 10 times, 100 times. I am sit in a parking area between sea and river. It's late September, the sun is shining, the day is sublime, perfect temperature. A man greets me. He was watching me when I threw my rubbish in the trash. I was ready to take the road. But he initiated discussion asking me where I'm going. Are you walking all the big tour? Yes. He is surprised. He presents himself, Real. He saw me this morning in his village. I was in the cemetery. I was in the cemetery. I entered out of curiosity. It was raining and there was a cloud of mosquitoes. Then I was amazed to find so many graves with my names, Cabot. This cemetery had the most fantastic view of the whole coast that I walked along that day. The land is on a cliff, where the coast suddenly is wide open. The ground is also uneven toward the edge, so that standing face the sea, we were overhanging. I felt tall and ready to fly. It's surely good for souls. When I told Real I am collecting narrative on my way, he began to talk for almost an hour. At first, I was tired and not prepared to be present to heard. But seeing him gesticulate and told me about the climate change and how this affects the living on the coast, I woke up. The sky is, I sit at the picnic table by the river. I have in front of me the trestle, this suspension bridge for the train that is no longer in use. And now Real explaining how the saline water are good for nerves and humors. When I quit him, I had to cross the trestle to get to the other village. Walk another 12 kilometers before the night. I walk along the beach. I don't know yet that it will be one of the most difficult times endless on the endless beach. It's so difficult to walk in the sand, especially with my gear. But I met Real, and he confirmed his attachment to the sea, to this space. Done.
That was great.
Maybe we can ask you now, what's your experiment in walking? Or if you have questions.
So are we going to open it up for questions right now, or Vicky, do you want to pick it up from there?
Sophie, what do you think?
I think we go for a question.
Okay.
And talking, dialogue.
Okay.
about walking.
Sophie, just to remind you, I have also a presentation to do at some point. I just don't know in which point.
Oh yes, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't you go? Why don't you go now, Vicky, and then
All right.
all right. So.
All right, I'll do the presentation now. So.
Okay.
I guess it.
Yeah, I'm putting the link. I'm putting the link on the chat box if people want to see it, because mine has a sound, pre-recorded sound. I also want to say something, that me and Sophie, we met through a campfire in Oika. So we've never met before. And we managed to set up this presentation today by a few Zoom meetings. And I think it's quite important to mention that today, because that's what happens. You know, that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot connect alone behind your screen at home. I've developed a piece of like a slideshow of collected images, drawings, and some image processing I do through my second lockdown, which is in Crete, in Greece. A lot of images that I process them while I'm in the shower or in the bath, because I quite relax and I observe an image. Memory, and then I just start playing with it. The drawings are, some are in situ, but some are also developed from photographs. It's a mixture. So here I am. The sound is not great, just a warning. Can you all see this? Is it visible?
Yes.
I can see it.
Okay. Okay, you've got the link. If something goes not very well, it's less than it's about 2.5 minutes.
I take for granted that all people experience nature and walking in the same way I do. Every time I take a path, I can see it penetrating the land, cutting the soil, almost like opening a wound whose top skin has been cracked and removed. Paths made by man or animal, or just being geological formations, are placed here centuries ago, eventually becoming part of the planet's history. I see bushes leaning to one side or touching the ground. I observe plants bent by the wind or leaning towards the sun. They are pulled by invisible microscopic threads like spider webs to the nearby trees, which keep everything attached to the land. Trees with figure-like shapes, often associated with unearthly creatures, are standing in familiar poses, praying, kneeling, lying, begging, threatening, hugging. And then the wisely formed rocks, with their small holes and uneven steps, are home to known or unknown grasses and passing insects, flies, butterflies, lizards, snakes, mice, badgers, rabbits, scorpions, ants. My eyes are drawn up above the rocks and the trees. There is a bird perched, watching. I walk next to it, and when it realizes I'm close by, it flies calmly away. There is no fear, just an instinct. It knows I was not a threat. And then, beyond any landlines, there are the skies and the sea, miles of light and water. Beyond, another land again, and in between, some fading islands like sea beasts floating in the huge water body. Finally, my eyes fly above into the skies, standing still for a few moments, an out-of-body experience. So much freedom in the soundless escape. There is no life, no death, just pure contentment. Fluffy white clouds, gray, blue skies, the gift of feeling embraced by the universe.
Great, thank you.
Finished. So I think now we're ready to open up a conversation.
Wow, those were really,
Perhaps,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, open up a conversation. Sort of like what walking is for people here, because me and Sophie want to kind of invite people to have a walk for the next prior to the next campfire, and maybe we can have a kind of icebreaker now and talk a little bit about what walking is for people, especially for people who would like to do the walk.
So I just want to make sure that I just want to make sure it's clear that, so before we end this call, you guys are going to introduce a walking practice that we do in the coming week, and then follow up with the next week's campfire to talk about it. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was clear on that. So if that's something that's important to you, stick around or make sure you get that from them.
So perhaps maybe some people want to initially ask Sophie and myself anything about the way we work, or any questions before we move on to the walking. What do you think, Sophie?
Sure.
I think we can open with question and talk. Yeah, the same. Yeah.
Are there any questions or observations for the artists at this point? I guess that's the first phase of this. Anybody? Billy.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, here's Elspeth, but everybody calls me Billy. Thank you. Thank you for that. No, I am torn at the moment, and I just wondered how everybody else felt, because when I started walking over 8 years ago, I was asked by a curator how I was going to document the walk. And my understanding was that you couldn't document walking, that you have to be in the walk, that you have to be there. And I am conflicted, because I have been gradually drawn further and further. I started making ropes, knotting ropes as a way of resisting the documentation through photographs. I'm very conscious of Smithson's work about erasure as an artist, and I am conflicted, and I just wondered if anybody else felt the same way, that as it's an experience, and how do you depict an experience?
Can I say something? Because so my name is Inke. Actually, Sophie and I met in Prespes before. And Rosario, I met in La Romieux, and Geert, I met several other times. So I'm very much into walking, but this specific question is always recurring to me. So what you were addressing, because to me it seems that walking in itself is a kind of mapping in the most direct possible way. But then I also like to, of course, talk to others about the walks that I do. So I also like to have some kind of documentation, which is not exactly the same, I think, as really mapping the walk. And still, I'm also searching for ways to do mappings of the walk, or sharing. I think this was mentioned in Vicky's talk. And also, of course, it's part of Sophie's presentation, that you want to share the walk. So in the walking, you are already sharing some kind of sensorial experiences. I put an emphasis on the sensorial experience. And but I'm also looking for other ways to share the experience next to the walking in a way beyond words. And I like the literary, talking about walking is also very beautiful, but I think it's interesting to look at walking as a way of also communicating, not only with the place, but also the other walkers. So you already share something in between. And I'm not really sure, but looking for ways to name this or put this in the importance of this kind of sharing practice also into words, because it's so immaterial and ephemeral. It is very difficult to talk about it. So that's about it.
Can I talk? I noticed that you draw a lot in your presentation, last presentation. For me, it's like some a text, a poetic text, and there are a narrative or not in the drawings, because I think there are some drawings that you repeat, and others that no, or perhaps it's the language you use, because some are in black and white, and others are all like photographs, and you draw with colors. It's that one. So I couldn't see a continuation. Perhaps there is a continuation, but for me, when I see, it's more the text than the drawings. You understand? My intention was more with the text than with the drawings. The bird, it's okay, it's a bird, but the rest for me it's abstraction. It's I don't know if you understand. It's not. It's perhaps if I can ask you, it's what's the coordination you have between the drawing and the image you want to tell with the drawing, and the image you want to tell with the text you tell us. Okay. It's something like that.
When you say text, do you mean the script, the spoken words, or do you mean, okay?
Yeah, spoken words.
Yeah, the narrative. Okay. Because this is a presentation, this is not a finished film that can go to an exhibition or be on public. This is like an informal presentation that I'm doing. So what I did, I gathered material that I had been collecting during my walks, and I put them together in the way you saw it today. So I had a walk the day that me and Sophie, what we did with Sophie as an icebreaker to get to know each other, we set up a day that we were both going to do a walk and then come back with the material of the walk and try to connect that way. And the text you heard, it was my voice, it was a voice recording during my walk. I had a meditative experience. I allowed myself, became so free that I was flying, I was not walking. So I kept this material, this voice over material, which I re-recorded it because it was not very good. I had to redo it a little bit, and then I added on this footage, on the footage of the audio, I made a combination of selected photographs and drawings that they were related to what I was talking about. And the images, the photographic material, the photographs I take on my mobile, and I use, it's a Pixel. It's a horrible mobile, but it has a very basic editing tool, and I wanted to do something so minimal, basically. So I was taking the original photographs and manipulate them and transforming them to something else. Sometimes I make them black and white, and sometimes I just add other elements on them with like 4 colors that it's available. My drawings, some drawings have happened during my walks. Some drawings, it's from photographs I've taken during my walks and bring them home.
I like very much the drawings. For me, it don't matter if the quality of the image, because they are so empty of other resolution. It's black and white, and it's synthetic. but and they are fluid because your text for me, I liked very much your voice. I think it's when Sophie told us we could close the eyes in your text. I don't know if I needed the image. You understand? Because the text it's transport me to your whole walk. So I understand. For me, it's like two things. You understand? You pick the image from different walks and different things and put them together. I don't see that relation. You explain the relation. Okay, it's like a duality, a double exposure, a double narrative. Because for me, the drawing is too much. You understand? So it's my language, and it has a power.
No, I understand what you mean. I exactly understand what you're saying.
Yes.
It's like two projects at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's an emergent property that comes, from the. I think what she's talking there about the emergent property that comes from those different combinations of media that you guys are using.
Yeah, and it's always a research. We define it over practice, over years, over every project.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for the artists? If not, I do, but speak up if you do.
Yeah.
Annie, go ahead.
So is the work, well, what I'm hearing you saying is that in a way you have very different practices in a way, because Sophie, I think you're saying that your work is socially engaged work with people, and the walk is the work. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's something different going on with you. Sorry to simplify it, and I'm sure
it's fine.
It's much more complex than that. But you know, the walking is the art embedded when you're doing the walking.
Mm-hmm.
And Vicky, you're saying something about the experience of walking is taken away. I know you do some work when you're walking, but also you take it away, and it's sort of a memory as well that you work with. So you're sort of doing different types of work. Is that right?
I think it's a very good point, that. We should write it down, Sophie. It is. It's everybody's, because I heard, is it Lenke? Yenke? Is it now in the first? Yenke. Before. You need to engage with people when you walk. You see, I walk and I don't want to see anybody. So it's we all have different approaches, and probably Geert.
Yes.
Yeah. And Geert, you have a lot of experience with these walking groups, like how differently people might work.
Yes.
And perception of walking is, it's you put together or beside different ways of practice walking art.
Yeah, because I've walked with a group during the pandemic where we've all walked in different places, and what was interesting was we did the two things in a way, because you're walking alone and yet you know that you're walking with others, but you're still walking alone. And I liked that.
Yeah, but walking is a process, but it can be a result or a result.
Yes.
If I can say that.
Yes, I guess
not an object, but it can be Yeah, it embeds the process and the finality.
Yes.
I realized that over my practice, because for many years I walked, but at first it was more a process. And finally, I realized the things happen during I'm walking. I take a lot of decision about the creation. So it was more than only the process. It's also the finality.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe not always, but yeah, for some time, yes. Yeah.
I wonder if, unless there's anybody else with a pressing question or comment, I'm wondering if. Oh, sorry, is there somebody?
Inke, it's Inke. So,
okay.
Just to add just a little bit to Annie's comment, the shared walks you did, and as I understand, Sophie and Vicky, you were also sharing an experience of doing a walk in your own space, but at the same time. So I think this is one of the things that is now we are experimenting a lot. A lot of people are experimenting walking remotely, but being connected. We did it this summer. Sophie, you were there. Mm-hmm. And actually, I think it's very interesting that you can feel connected in a time space. I would like to call it a time space. And be in different places. So for me, walking generally is also very much about connecting to a specific place. So really in situ. So I'm not really sure what I want to say about it, but I would just wanted to point it out as I think this is a very nice and interesting outcome of what we are all exploring in the different ways that we can approach sharing walks at the same time in the same place, or afterwards, like Vicky did in a way, like also sharing memories of a walk. That is interesting. So there are many different layers actually to engage in walking.
And another layers over that.
Yes.
We did this campfire into OICA collectivity to relate walking also with how can I say, with OICA goals or reflection, action. And on this point, maybe because I know some people here maybe don't know OICA. Maybe you can have a little word about that, Rich?
Sure. Well, I've been thinking a lot about the ecological dimensions of walking, which puts it, which was what makes it OICA. And I'm struck again and again by how, you all kind of mentioned it. I think it was Sophie who said silence allowed new relationships. And even though Vicky was saying she likes to walk alone, are you ever really alone on a walk? I mean, because there's something about the phenomenology of walking that it's something about the pace and the scale, the tempo at which it happens. It just allows new relationships to happen, whether that's with another human or with, as you're talking about, place. So I'm really intrigued by this thing of walking, that it has all of these earmarks of ecological intelligence. I just think it's a beautiful example of it. So yeah, I'd like to explore that more. I'd like to see more and more stories about how walking cultivates relationships, and then see where those relationships go, how they are transformative in their own ways.
Yeah, I'm wondering about the role of the body's mechanics and this constant motion, and like when does walking cease to be about the mechanics of the body, because we're talking about building connections and relationship with place, and then thinking about Vicky like stopping long enough to spend the time it would take to do a drawing. And so I'm just thinking about my walks and like, when do you decide to cease that notion of the body to stop and pay attention to something, or to make a connection, or to do a drawing, and how is that still walking? I don't know if that makes sense, but
That's actually really fascinating, because it's actually tied to this idea of unstructured play somehow, because what I've learned is that like play creates this space of dissolving, where like I disappear, like I somehow dissolve into the surroundings when I play. And it also happens in walking. And what really made that clear was when I started riding my bike as opposed to walking, and everything was about the bike, and everything's about how you navigate through the woods, or how you, or the mechanics of the bike. And I learned, I was doing that every day. It kind of replaced my walking ritual. And what I realized over time was that something was profoundly missing from the ritual, and I don't know, I just think that's in some way what you're talking about, Alyssa, is that something about walking, the simplicity of it and the naturalness of it, like promotes that dissolution of body, anyway, yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yes, Alex.
Yes, I was just struck by you saying the naturalness of walking, and I don't know if this is a bit too personal, but it strikes me that one assumes, I think you're all very abled, and I think because I was until 2 years ago quite disabled insofar as walking for me was very painful, and I think we all experience an ankle you've turned or something, so we all know what it's like to walk and to have some pain. But I still think that although I walked in pain, I guess that was a bodily experience, but it wasn't particularly pleasant. But I still enjoyed, but I needed to have things that would uplift me in the environment. Whereas now I can just walk, and I feel I've joined a lot of the rest of the world, and it is amazing. And that sense that you were mentioning, like about that sense of it feels natural when you can walk without pain. I would say it's a bit like living. It's natural for people to live if they're not in pain, but an awful lot of people are in pain. So I think I'm just, yeah.
Sorry, can I just suggest, have a look at Morag Rose. Morag Rose is walking.
Okay.
Because Morag is severely disabled, and she is a campaigner amongst artists and for open ways for disability, for you to be able to engage. And the idea of having this free body and this free movement, as you say, is an enormous privilege.
Yes.
And it is a huge assumption to make that we all have it.
Sorry, can I? But I think the body is not only the physical body, the mental body. It's very important for me to walk in the landscape. For instance, this morning I was in the mountains, and I was with some. I have a meeting. I have to do a call, a difficult call to someone, and I went for a short walk, half an hour. I went and I go and I came, and my head organized. And I have a pain, a mental pain, because I was a little bit frightened, a little bit concerned with it, and it solves my problem. And for me, it's important to walk, not only the physical, and it's I think the place and the way we organize our physical, and we forget things. It's like this dissolution of myself in the place, in the time, in these things. It's
I wanted to, yeah, I would like to say something about the walk. I just feel that when we talk about walk, it's very anthropocentric point of view of humans walking. And because, you know, it's really our essence as humans walking on Earth. Yeah, we are really designed for walking since a long time. And we reconnect now with our essence as humans. But from my point of view, I think it's important to challenge this anthropocentric point of view of the world, and just wondering how the other beings are walking around you, for example. And for example, how many kinds of walks birds can do. You know, birds can walk like this, or bird can walk like this, or bird can walk like this. It depends from the kind of birds. So if you really enter into discovering how the other being walk, it's challenging your anthropocentric point of view and expanding the concept of the walk, of the experience of the walk. I believe it's important. Yeah.
Maybe to continue on this, yeah, we develop a lot of technology to go faster and don't have to, because walking to go to another point is long, can be long. So so we lost some connection with this technology and mobility, faster mobility. And I think walking, it's a way to reappropriate this, many ways of walking, as you said, Fred, maybe. Maybe not jumping like a bird, but sorry, it's difficult sometimes to say everything I want in English, but yeah. And another point, when you talk, Alisa, about by your question about when we are creating walking, I think creation is, we walk anyway as human, but creation is more when we decide to imply creation in the process and to do something with it, because I think we don't need to be artists to have special experiment, but when we decide to share it and to go deeper in it and to explore about it, I think there is, I think when it's getting art, I guess. That would be my answer about that.
Can I just say something? Thank you for saying what you did, Alex. And I had some thoughts about that in my head, about age and, you know, living in the city and how that feels to walk. They're just questions, really. But also, I was wondering about, since I've been in lockdown, I've been doing the same walk, which I've done since I've lived here, so quite a long time. So I've been doing it, you know, hundreds of times since the lockdown. And there's something really interesting about doing the same walk over and over again. And, you know, what is different about it every time. Also, I just wanted to, I was reminded of something that I used to do many years ago when I was very young. I used to work a lot in nightclubs. I won't tell you anything else, but and I used to finish at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I used to walk back from the centre of London because there was no buses then, and I used to walk all the way through the city right out to southeast London, and just at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, and there was no one around really through the city of London, around St Paul's Cathedral, you know, and there's something about night walking that is very interesting. So I just wanted to throw these things out, really. Yes.
Yeah, that comment about doing the same walk over and over again is really, I've experienced that too. Somehow, when you don't have the obligation of navigating, like you actually know where you are, you know how to get to where you're going. Then that bandwidth of expectation that you get, you know, it's available to you, becomes available to explore. You know, there's a kind of openness that comes with that freedom of not having to worry about getting back or how long this is going to take or what the route is. I've experienced that too.
And I want to say to Anne this, that you brought up with this night walking. I just remember when we were children, we used to go in groups night walking in the woods without flashlights. The flashlight was abandoned. It was not allowed at all, because then you just lost you got blind. And I just remember this freedom that you had in this, and we were not scared at all, because, you know, who was gonna bother us? But that was really a very nice experience. I remember that. I forgot about that. Thanks for that, Annie.
Yes.
This is an amazing conversation, and I don't want to you know, stop it, but I do want to just make sure that we have time left to talk about the practice that you want to introduce. So if there's any more pressing comments, have at it. But otherwise, Vicky and Sophie, when you're ready, let us know.
You might like to also look at Claire Qualman's work. She's done a lot of walks with pushchairs and babies. And what it feels like to have to negotiate your way around cities. She's done some walks in New York, yeah, where she's invited other people with pushchairs and prams and babies to join her to see what that feels like. And that's a really interesting concept. And then I'm trying to remember the name of the group. There's a group that does continuous night walks from London all the way down to Kent, running through the night, stopping at various points, often stopping at derelict sites. They have fires, they have conversations, and then they move on. So they're lovely ones. If I can think of the name, I will put it up. But they're a great group to join.
Does anyone have any insight on the idea of pilgrimage and how, you know, what is that? What dimension does that add to this conversation?
Well, Sonia Overall's book's coming out. She actually walked from Kent to Ely on her own as a woman. She actually had to give up and start again because she got so many blisters. But she reenacts the walking of Canterbury Tales, of collecting stories, of meeting people who you don't know, having conversations. And yeah, as I say, she's got her book. I think she's talking about it tonight. I've got to go there in a minute at 8 o'clock, called Writing in the Margins. And at 8 o'clock, she's giving a talk and a reading from her book. But she actually walked on her own as a woman. I think it took her 6 days with no planned place of stay. Just happened as it went.
Mm. It's just so many things, isn't it? It's just so difficult to say. I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Join the Women's Walking Artists Network. Women's Walking Artists Network.
Yes. Mm.
It was formed as a response to Sinclair's comment that women don't walk.
Mm.
He actually had a meeting at Somerset House for walking artists, and he asked why there weren't more women there, and he said it's because women just don't do this sort of thing. And he's lived to regret it, because it has come back to haunt him. And there are so many women out. All the women who are walking put their hands up and said, "What?" But yeah, the Walking Artists Network is a good one.
So we go to present the walk, Vicky?
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
the idea was to have an experiment all together, and it's open to some other people, to experiment something in the idea of OICA, ecological minding, yes. So walking, it can be something interesting, and I remember I was inspired with the ink last. Yeah, you mentioned about your walk last summer. So to walk in the same time and be connect with the app WhatsApp. So we can have maybe around 45 minutes walking, and at certain point we can stop and exchange about the Vicky, you want to add something?
I'm gonna add on the chat box our details, so you can all kind of copy.
Okay, yes, okay.
I'll make a
Great.
screenshot. It's the details about the workshop coming up. I mean, we want it at the same time, but I'm aware that some people might not be able to do it at the same time. So I'm just thinking, if we connect with WhatsApp, perhaps some people will do it not in that time. They can record the experience, whichever way they want, and send us the material on the WhatsApp. If it's a photograph, if it's a photograph of a drawing, if it's a voice, whatever, then we will collect that and put it somewhere on a cloud, and then try to share it afterwards and have a discussion around it. We have 3 hours between the walk, the official walk, if you like, and the campfire. So there's 3 hours to collect the material and see how we're going to work with that.
We can put it on the Google Drive.
Yeah, we'll find a way. And it was funny because when with Sophie we set that up, we were thinking like, okay, UTC -5, GMT, which is the same with UTC and GMT, and then we started to discover all these initials about time in the global. Had a good laugh about that. So it would be interesting to have walks in the global. I don't know.
Some of you will walk during the night and some others in the morning.
Yeah, we tried to find.
We proposed the thematic of the ground. So simply the ground, so it's very large, just to focus on something similar, and maybe it can help for the exchange, but it's really open. Do you have any question?
Will you introduce a specific OICA concept during the walk?
Yes, Rich will do it. No, not during the walk, but I think it will be more in the campfire after.
Okay. All right.
What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I think that we'll try that. I'll try. So yeah, that we'll do an interpretation after the fact.
Okay.
But Fred, you must have had something in mind.
Yes.
What it is?
Yeah, it's about looking at the bird walking, for example. It's a simple idea.
Yes. Okay.
Then if you practice reflexivity, it's really when you start to be inspired by how the birds are walking, and then you can change the way you are walking. This play, between how you are walking and how the others are walking around you. This kind of mirroring inspiration with nature, who can change the way you walk.
If any in the lead up to the practice, then if anybody would like a prompt, for something just pulled out of a hat, basically, let me know and I'll provide one. Or we can do Fred's reflexivity. If that needs clarification, just send ask it in the email thread, and we'll or the WhatsApp chat, and we can hone it in. But if you want to do it completely without any sort of preconceived notion, that's fine too.
There is a topic that Sophie you made that the focus to be, the idea is the focus to be on the ground.
Yeah.
So as we're walking, we connect with the land, with the earth. Just to have a focus. We might decide that we fly instead, but that's also like a result of focusing.
Yes, and maybe like Fred proposed, we can add how do we walk on the ground? Or do we walk on the ground?
The bird, not like a bird.
Are we bird, fish, or human, or
you could just walk
on or off the ground? It depends.
I was just thinking that you can just walk and being a bird in your body, in your mind, as well. Birdness walking or something.
Reflexivity is more the idea that you just become who you encounter.
Yes.
With no previous idea.
And you're aware of, and in reflexivity, you would be aware of how your presence affects the thing that you are aware of, and how your awareness of it affects you. That's also part of reflexivity. It's that.
You might feel like a lizard on the day, so you have to allow the experience.
Well, you can become an earthworm if you want really to feel the ground.
So that will be nice to see your picture, Fred, on WhatsApp.
So how do we do it? Some people have already sent some numbers here, but it's very difficult for me to go through the chat box and find them. I wonder if there is an easier way to just send it to the numbers directly, or an email.
If it's a WhatsApp group,
the
WhatsApp group, you can share the WhatsApp group link. Then when people click on the link, they will be part of the group. You don't have to put people manually. You just send the link of the WhatsApp group to the people you want to be part of. So it's much more easy. You don't have to manage this.
Okay, good. But how do you do that?
Right.
Well, in the preferences of WhatsApp, when you create a group, you will see you can copy the invitation link to the group, and you just publish this invitation link to the other people, and that's it.
I didn't know that. We'll try to fiddle with technology again a little bit, so see what happens. Otherwise, you've got the emails, just keep them. But hopefully there will be another email with the link. We'll try. I'll try.
Henke, can we talk later?
No, you will know.
About your own experience with walking, international walk, and WhatsApp using.
Yeah. Yes, maybe. But for me, you mean now, Sophie? Because
Not now, but
no. Okay.
maybe,
Later, yes.
yeah,
But
in the
next
weekend.
week, I'm not really sure that I can make it because I am not in my own place. I am actually on a walk next week with. So sorry. But I will try.
Okay.
All right. I hope you don't mind if I just say thank you all so much. This was really an incredibly rich conversation, surprisingly, but somehow not surprisingly. And I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Thank you,
from here.
Marianne.
I really am excited to see that.
Really love.
Yes.
So thank you, everybody. So
you can join the next campfire even if you can't make the walk because you will have an
I will
interesting...
try. I will try. Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, all of you.